Steven Weber. This is a story about a man who literally wrote his own tragic ending. Steven Weber Jr. was on a bucket list vacation with his girlfriend Kenesha Antoine, an attorney from Louisiana. They were staying at the Manta Resort off Pemba Island, Tanzania, in one of those insane underwater rooms with a bedroom that looks directly into the Indian Ocean through a giant glass window. You know, the kind of place you see on Instagram and think, who actually stays there? Well, Steven and Kenesha did, and Steven had a plan. On September 19th, 2019, he decided to make the grandest of grand gestures. No scuba gear, no safety diver, no buddy, just a mask, a snorkel, some fins, and a laminated, handwritten note. He free-dived down to the outside of their underwater bedroom window while Kenesha filmed from inside. She saw him press the note against the glass. It read, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you." Let that sink in. He then flipped the note over. On the back, it said, "Will you please be my wife? Marry me?" He pulled out a ring box, showed it to her through the glass, smiled, and then he turned to swim up to the surface. But he never made it. He never broke the surface. Kenesha watched and waited, and he just disappeared into the blue. Resort staff were called. His body was recovered nearby. The cause of death was drowning, most likely a shallow water blackout. He had zero backup, zero margin for error. Just a man, a ring, and a terribly miscalculated breath hold at depth. The note he wrote as a romantic joke became, his epitaph. His girlfriend later posted on Facebook that her answer was, yes, yes, 1,000,000 times yes. But he never got to hear it. What the hell, man? He literally predicted his own death on a laminated piece of paper. And the worst part? The video of him at the window, smiling, holding up that ring, it went viral. Millions of people watched the last moments of a man who drowned for a proposal. Dimitrina Dimitrova. All right, from the depths of the ocean to the edge of a cliff. This one is just pure, unfiltered stupidity. Dimitrina Dimitrova, a 29-year-old from Bulgaria, had just arrived in Ibiza 2 days earlier to visit her boyfriend and look for work. In late January 2015, he took her to a scenic spot on the island's west coast, a cliff overlooking the sea, about 65 feet high. Beautiful view, romantic setting. He proposed.
Oh my God.
She, overcome with joy, said yes. And then, in a moment of what can only be described as a catastrophic brain fart, she started jumping up and down. In excitement, on the edge of a 65-foot cliff. You can see where this is going, can't you? She lost her balance. 1 second, she's celebrating the start of a new life. The next, she's plummeting 65 feet onto the rocks below. Emergency services were called, and she was somehow still alive when they arrived, but she died shortly after from a heart attack brought on by her massive injuries. The police called it a tragic freak accident. I mean, yeah, it was tragic, but freak accident? She was jumping on the edge of a cliff. That's not a freak accident. That's a predictable outcome. I'm sorry, but who does that? You're on a cliff. A cliff! The one place on Earth where jumping is the absolute last thing you should do. It's like getting a winning lottery ticket and celebrating by juggling chainsaws. The international media linked her case to a Polish couple who had fallen off a cliff in Portugal while taking a selfie around the same time. It's like there was a whole season of people just walking off cliffs. She literally celebrated herself to death, and the boyfriend had to watch the whole thing. One moment he's the happiest man alive, the next he's watching his fiancée disappear over the edge. That's a level of whiplash no one should ever experience. Yeşim Demir. And if you thought that was a one-off, think again, because apparently cliffs and proposals are a lethal combination that nobody is learning from. In July 2023, in Turkey, A man named Nizamettin Gursu took his girlfriend, Yeşim Demir, to a beautiful seaside cliff to propose at sunset. He chose the spot specifically because he wanted to make a romantic memory. And oh, he did. Just not the one he was hoping for. She said yes, and to celebrate, they decided to hang out right there on the cliff edge and have a few drinks. Because what could possibly go wrong when you mix alcohol in a 100-foot drop? You know, just casually sipping cocktails on the edge of a 10-story building with no railing. Totally normal behavior. According to her fiancé, everything happened at once. One moment they were celebrating, the next, Yeşim lost her balance and just disappeared over the edge. She plunged 100 feet to her death. He chose the spot for the romance, for the view, for the memory. And now, that memory is of his fiancée falling to her death moments after he proposed. It's the same brand of stupid as the last case, just with alcohol as a mixer. And honestly, the alcohol makes it worse. Because at least Dimitrina's death was a split-second lapse in judgment. This was a sustained, ongoing decision to sit on the edge of a deadly cliff while getting progressively less coordinated. It's treating a sheer, deadly drop like it's a park bench. The universe gives you these beautiful, dangerous places, and it expects you to have at least a tiny bit of respect for them. But no. Let's get engaged and then get drunk on the edge of this giant hole. It's a miracle only one of them fell. Brad Parker. This next one is a special kind of stupid, reserved for people who live on the edge and can't resist one more victory lap. Brad Parker was a 36-year-old yoga instructor and experienced climber from Sebastopol, California. On August 16, 2014, he and his girlfriend, Jaini Dial, climbed Cathedral Peak in Yosemite National Park together, roped up, safe, proper technique. At the summit, with the entire Sierra Nevada spread out below them, he proposed. She said yes. He called his father and told him it was the happiest day of his life. A perfect moment, a perfect day. But for Brad, it wasn't enough. After they descended from Cathedral Peak, he decided to go climb nearby Mattis Crest, alone, and without ropes. This is called free soloing, and it means if you slip, even once, you die. No second chances, no do-overs. So, after an already long, physically demanding, and emotionally charged day, after the adrenaline of a proposal, after the fatigue of a full roped climb, he went for a high-risk solo climb on an exposed ridgeline. Other climbers in the area saw him fall. He just slipped. And that was it. He died from the injuries on impact. Among climbers, his death was discussed as a textbook example of how emotional highs, fatigue, and overconfidence can stack up into a fatal decision. He had his perfect day, his perfect moment. The love of his life had just said yes, and he threw it all away for one more adrenaline rush. His father told reporters that Brad called him to say it was the happiest day of his life. And then, hours later, he got a different call. A victory lap that ended at the bottom of a cliff. You know, sometimes the universe gives you the win and you just need to take it and go home. The Pyrotechnic Artist. This story is just dark and deeply, deeply ironic. On December 26, 2015, in Chelyabinsk, Russia, a man decided he wanted his proposal to be extra special. So he went online and hired a pyrotechnics company to stage a private fireworks show, as one does in Russia. The pyrotechnic artist, an employee of the firm, came to the location and set up the fireworks outside in the parking area. The client went upstairs to propose to his girlfriend. The plan was simple. He popped the question, then called the fireworks guy on his phone to cue the grand finale. So the proposal happens, she says yes, he makes the call. Downstairs, the pyrotechnic artist lights it up. And then, one of the firework rockets misfired. Instead of shooting up into the sky, it shot sideways and hit the pyrotechnic artist directly in the neck. A high-velocity rocket to the cervical spine. He was killed instantly. The groom-to-be, completely unaware of what just happened, finished celebrating with his new fiancée upstairs. He poured the drinks, they kissed, they were happy. And then he went downstairs to his car to get a bottle of champagne. And that's when he found the fireworks guy lying dead on the ground. I'm sorry, but what the fuck, bro? The one person who dies in this whole romantic spectacle is the poor bastard who was just trying to do his job. He died alone in a parking lot from a rocket to the neck while the happy couple was toasting upstairs, completely oblivious. Russian state news agency TASS reported the story, and it sparked a conversation about safety standards in small pyrotechnic firms. But honestly, it's the ultimate example of a proposal stunt going horribly, horribly wrong for the one person who had absolutely nothing to do with the romance. The wedding guest. Okay, this last one isn't a proposal, but it's so insanely stupid and romance adjacent that it absolutely has to be included. It's 2025 in Šibenik, Croatia. A wedding is happening in front of the beautiful Cathedral of St. James, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's a gorgeous day. People are celebrating. The bride is happy. The groom is happy. Everyone is having a great time. And then one of the guests, a 52-year-old man, decides the wedding needs more flair. Literally. He decides to start firing off signal rockets and flares. In a crowd, in front of a cathedral, in a tight urban space, at a wedding, with people everywhere. What could possibly go wrong? Well, due to what police later called incompetent handling, and I think that might be the understatement of the century, he fired one of the rockets incorrectly. It didn't go up. It went sideways, and it struck a 35-year-old female guest. She was rushed to Šibenik General Hospital but died from her injuries. The guy who fired it later voluntarily handed over a whole arsenal of additional flares, handheld flares, and smoke signals to the police. He had more. He brought a whole bag of this shit to a wedding. A criminal investigation was opened, and Croatian police used the case to publicly warn about the dangers of pyrotechnics at celebrations. Because apparently, that needed to be said. He turned a wedding into a war zone because he thought firing military-grade signal rockets at a party was a good idea. It's a reminder that the stupidest person at an event isn't always the one getting married. Sometimes it's the guest with the flare gun and zero common sense.